What if everything you were taught about this planet is a cover story, not a mistake, not a gap in knowledge, a deliberate, carefully maintained cover story? Here's a number that should stop you cold. In 2023 alone, humanity extracted 90 billion tons of raw materials from the Earth's crust. 90 billion tons! That's roughly 11 tons for every single person alive on this planet. Every man, every woman, every child. Now ask yourself one question. Do you actually use 11 tons of raw materials per year? Your car weighs 1.5 tons. Your house may be 50 tons of material total, spread across 30 years. The math doesn't work. It has never worked. And yet the extraction never stops. It accelerates. We're told this is progress. We're told this is development. We're told the market demands it. But the market is us, and we don't need this much, not even close. So where is it going? Think about what this actually looks like from the outside. Imagine you're watching an anthill. The ants carry particles 10 times their body weight, day and night, generation after generation. They never stop. They never question it. And somewhere above them, something is collecting what they bring to the surface. Either we are extracting resources for ourselves and the numbers should match human consumption, or something else is happening entirely. There is no third option. Here's what makes this thought genuinely uncomfortable. The deposits aren't random. Copper in exactly the places ancient civilizations first emerged. Oil beneath exactly the territories that triggered the 20th century's most catastrophic conflicts. Rare earth metals concentrated in regions that suddenly became geopolitically critical the moment electronics required them. Coincidence? I don't think so. We've been mining this planet with increasing ferocity for 200 years. Before that, someone else was mining it for thousands more. The Bingham Canyon open pit mine in Utah is so large it's visible from space, a hole 1.2 kilometers deep, 4 kilometers wide. They call it a triumph of human industry. Ask yourself, who designed a planet where the most valuable materials sit just deep enough to require effort, but not so deep that extraction becomes impossible? That's not geology, that's engineering. We are standing inside something, we just haven't looked up long enough to see the walls. But this is only the surface. When we get to the ancient quarries and what was found inside them, the ground beneath your feet will feel very different. Let's go. Shift your gaze from the present to the last 160 years because that's where the numbers start to break reality. Since 1860, the dawn of industrial extraction, humanity has pumped 1.5 trillion barrels of oil from the Earth's crust. Let's just sit with that for a moment. 1,500 billion barrels. Now let's turn on the calculator and just count. The entire global vehicle fleet, every car, truck, ship, and aircraft on Earth consumes roughly 100 billion barrels per year. That means 1.5 trillion barrels represents 15 full years of powering every engine on the planet simultaneously. But we've been extracting for 160 years, not 15. The consumption figures don't come close to matching extraction, not even in the same universe. The most interesting part is just beginning. Write in the comments what city you're from. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. The tension is rising. Who's watching us from where? Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. There's more to come. Mark yourselves in the comments. Which country are you from? Hit that like button and subscribe. The plot thickens. Let's check our geography. Right where you are right now, smash that thumbs up and subscribe. We're just warming up. Tell us, where are you watching from? Support the video with a like and hit that subscribe button. The climax is near. Share what corner of the world you're in right now. Drop a like and make sure to subscribe. Things are developing rapidly. Write your city in the chat, slam that like and hit subscribe so you don't get lost. All the juiciest stuff is ahead. Let's get acquainted. Who's from where? Hit like and subscribe right now. The intrigue is building. Right where you're watching this episode from and reward us with a like and subscription. Emotions are off the charts. Quickly write what city you're from. Drop a fat like and subscribe to the channel. Where did the rest go? We're told. Industry, plastics, heating, infrastructure. Fine, let's accept that. But here's what no official report explains. The rate of acceleration. In 1900, we extracted 150 million barrels annually. By 2000, that number was 28 billion. A 185-fold increase in 1 century. Not because we were cold, not because we ran out of alternatives. It's as if someone kept raising the production quota. Think about a factory floor. When output demands suddenly multiply by 185, it doesn't happen organically. Someone upstairs changed the order. Now look at metals. Since the Industrial Revolution, humanity has extracted over 700 billion tons of iron ore alone. Stack that into cubes of solid iron, and you'd build a wall 50 meters high stretching from New York to Tokyo and back. That's iron we supposedly needed for bridges, railways, and kitchen pots. Do you seriously believe we needed that much? Either we are the most wasteful, chaotically consuming species in the universe, burning through resources at a rate that serves no rational survival purpose, or the extraction targets were never set by us. There is no third option. Here's the detail that makes this thought cut deep. The acceleration follows a pattern. Every 40 to 50 years, a new technology emerges that allows us to extract faster, deeper, more efficiently. Steam power, dynamite, hydraulic drilling, each one arriving precisely when the previous method hit its ceiling. Like clockwork, like a schedule someone else wrote. This is not industrial evolution. This is a production line being upgraded by its operators, and we are the workforce that never questioned the shift bell. Remember this pattern. We'll return to it when we examine who or what has been setting these quotas since before recorded history. Because the ancient quarries have something to say about that. Let's go to the quarries, the ancient ones, because that's where the schedule we just uncovered gets its first timestamp. Look at the Aswan quarry in Egypt, official version. Ancient Egyptians, using copper chisels and rope, carved granite blocks weighing up to 1,200 tons from solid bedrock. We're told this with a straight face, copper chisels on granite. Granite that scores 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. Copper scores 3. Do you seriously believe a softer material carved a harder one? At industrial scale, for centuries. Let's turn on the calculator and just count. The Great Pyramid alone contains 2.3 million stone blocks, averaging 2.5 tons each. To place one block every single day, construction would take over 6,000 years. But we're told it took 20. That means one block placed precisely every 5 minutes. Around the clock, no breaks, no errors, for 2 decades straight. This is not construction, this is a production rate. Now travel to Bingham Canyon, Utah. Open pit, 1.2 kilometers deep, 4 kilometers wide. Mining began in 1906. They call it humanity's largest man-made excavation. But zoom out on the satellite image, then zoom in on the quarry walls. See those perfectly terraced rings descending into the earth? Now open any image of ancient quarries in Lebanon, Egypt, or Peru. Same rings, same geometry, thousands of years earlier. Who taught us that shape? Either the terraced extraction method was independently invented multiple times across unconnected civilizations on opposite sides of the planet, or someone standardized the process long before any of these cultures existed. There is no third option. Here's the detail that makes the hair on your arms stand up. The largest ancient quarry stones were never used. In Baalbek, Lebanon, sits the quote, 0. A granite block weighing 1,000 tons still attached to the bedrock, quarried, shaped, and abandoned, like a product that never reached its destination. It's like finding a fully assembled engine block in a medieval blacksmith shop, perfectly machined, never installed, surrounded by people who couldn't have built it. We see quarries without tools. We see precision without technology. We see output without purpose. This is not archaeology. This is evidence of a system that was running long before we arrived, and we stumbled into it, picked up the tools we found, and kept working without ever asking who left them there. Remember these coordinates. We'll return to them when the full map becomes visible, because the next piece of evidence doesn't come from the ground. It comes from the ground's behavior itself. And here we approach the part that no history textbook will touch, because the ancient quarries aren't the anomaly. The anomaly is what happened next, and precisely when it happened. Take the timeline of industrial revolutions, not as a story, as a spreadsheet. 1712, Thomas Newcomen invents the steam engine. Extraction capacity multiplies overnight. 1867, Alfred Nobel patents dynamite. We suddenly reach deposits unreachable before. 1908, first commercial oil drill bits capable of deep penetration. The underground opens up. 1947, hydraulic fracturing developed. We crack the planet's bones to reach what's inside. Every 40 to 50 years, like clockwork, a new technology arrives that breaks the previous extraction ceiling precisely at the moment the old method maxes out. I know what you're thinking right now. Quote 1, fine. 1 coincidence is progress. 2 is a pattern. But 4 consecutive extraction breakthroughs, each arriving exactly when the previous quota ceiling was hit, each specifically enabling deeper and faster resource removal? That's a schedule. Someone else's schedule. Let's count what these coincidences produced. Before steam power, humanity extracted roughly 1 billion tons of material annually, total across all civilizations. By 1950, after dynamite and drilling, that figure reached 10 billion tons. Today, 90 billion. Each technological leap produced a near-perfect logarithmic curve. Not chaotic, not organic, smooth, controlled, like a dial being turned. It's like watching a factory worker who keeps receiving upgraded tools from a supervisor they've never seen. Each upgrade arriving in a sealed package, right on time with no return address. We use the tools. We never ask who sent them. Here's what official history conveniently skips. Every civilization that stopped expanding its extraction capacity collapsed shortly after. The Roman Empire's silver mines in Spain depleted. Rome fell. The Maya's agricultural extraction system failed. The Maya vanished. The Bronze Age sea traders lost their tin sources. An entire Mediterranean world collapsed within 1 generation, around 1200 BC. Either civilizations collapse for random, complex reasons that historians spend careers debating, or the pattern is brutally simple. When a workforce stops producing, the contract ends. There is no third option. This is not history. This is resource management, and we are not the managers. Now ask yourself, if the schedule of technological upgrades is real and the collapses follow depletion, what does that tell us about where we are right now in the cycle? We'll get there. But first, look at what the planet itself is doing underneath us. The numbers from inside the Earth are about to make everything worse. Let's return to the planet itself, because while we've been counting what comes out of it, nobody talks about what's running inside it. Here is a number that official geology mentions quietly in footnotes, hoping you won't notice. The Earth radiates 44 terawatts of heat energy continuously from its interior. Every second, without stopping, without fuel input, without any energy source we can identify or explain. For scale, all of humanity combined currently consumes 18 terawatts. Total, every power plant, every engine, every light bulb on Earth. The planet generates 2.4 times more energy than our entire civilization uses, internally, constantly. We're told this is radioactive decay from the planet's formation, natural, ancient, winding down slowly over billions of years. Do you seriously believe that explanation satisfies the math? Let's count. Radioactive decay is measurable. We know the half-lives of uranium, thorium, potassium. When geophysicists actually calculate how much heat these elements should produce inside Earth, they arrive at roughly 20 terawatts. Maybe 24 on a generous day, not 44. There are 20 terawatts unaccounted for. 20. That's more than humanity's entire energy consumption, produced by a source that official science labels, quote, 3, and then moves on. It's like finding your electricity meter running at double the rate of every appliance in your house combined, and your electrician shrugging and saying, probably the wiring. Either the Earth has an internal energy source that operates on principles we haven't discovered, Or the planet is not a passive rock but an active mechanism, running a process we weren't meant to examine too closely. There is no third option. Now add this. The Earth's magnetic field, the invisible shield that makes surface life possible, is generated by liquid iron rotating in the outer core, rotating continuously for 4.5 billion years. What keeps it spinning? No official model fully explains the energy maintenance of that rotation. We have hypotheses. We have equations that almost work. But the dynamo that protects every living thing on this surface is powered by something we cannot account for. We live inside a machine we don't understand. We extract from its surface. We consume its output. And the engine underneath runs on power sources we can't identify. This is not a planet. This is infrastructure. And infrastructure has a purpose. Infrastructure has an operator. Ask yourself, if you found a building with its own power plant running at full capacity, what would you conclude? Someone is still using it. Now look at where that power concentrates on the surface. The answer will make you rethink every map you've ever seen. Now look at the map, not a political map, a resource map. Lay them side by side and feel the ground disappear from under your feet. Take the 20th century's 5 largest armed conflicts by casualty count: World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, the Gulf War. Now overlay their geographic epicenters onto a map of the world's highest density resource deposits. Every single one, without exception. WUWI erupted across the coal and iron belt of Central Europe, the industrial backbone of the planet at that moment. World War II expanded that theater and simultaneously secured oil routes from the Caucasus to North Africa. Korea sits atop one of Asia's largest mineral deposit corridors. Vietnam was never about ideology. Beneath its soil lies one of the largest rare earth metal reserves on Earth, a fact the U.S. Geological Survey quietly confirmed decades later: the Gulf War. Do we even need to explain that one? We're told these conflicts were about politics, ideology, national pride, freedom. Seriously? Let's count what was actually at stake. The Middle East holds 48% of all proven global oil reserves. Every major Western military intervention in that region since 1950 has occurred within 200 kilometers of a major extraction zone. Not some, not most, everyone. That's not foreign policy, that's logistics management. It's like watching a corporation send its security team to resolve disputes in every region where its warehouses happen to be located. The disputes are real, the warehouses are the reason. Here's the detail that makes this pattern impossible to dismiss. The conflicts don't just occur near deposits, they end when the strategic resource objective is secured, not when peace is achieved. Not when ideology wins, when the extraction zone changes hands or is stabilized for operation. We see the pattern in Mesopotamia 3,000 years ago. Armies moving along river valleys rich with copper and tin. We see it in the Roman campaigns through Spain and Britain, both primary silver and tin sources. We see it today in every humanitarian intervention that somehow always concludes with a new pipeline agreement. Either wars are spontaneous expressions of human conflict that accidentally keep occurring above the planet's most valuable deposits, or the conflicts are the mechanism by which resource zones change operational control. There is no third option. This is not geopolitics. This is inventory management. And we, soldiers, civilians, governments, are the instruments of a reallocation system we never voted for and were never told about. Remember this pattern. We'll name it properly when the full picture assembles. But the scariest part isn't even this. The scariest part is what they built on the surface directly above the most critical zones. Shift your gaze from the battlefields to the buildings directly above them, because what was constructed in the 19th century, right at the peak of the extraction acceleration we documented, makes no sense for human habitation, none at all. Take the Palace of Westminster in London, completed in 1870. Official version, a seat of democratic government, built for elected representatives of the people. Beautiful story. Now look at the numbers. 1,100 rooms, 4.8 kilometers of corridors, 100 staircases. For a building that houses at maximum 1,400 working parliamentarians and staff. That's one room for every 1.3 people. Who in their right mind designs a workspace with more rooms than workers? Let's count what this actually required. The palace consumed 12 million handmade bricks, 2,500 tons of ornamental stone, and took 30 years to complete, during a period when London's working poor lived 12 to a room in collapsing tenements 3 miles away. The same government that couldn't house its citizens built itself a structure of pharaonic proportion. Do you feel the dissonance? Now do this right now. Open Google Maps and search __quote_7__, look at them from above. Washington, D.C., Paris, Vienna, St. Petersburg, Berlin. Every capital simultaneously, within the same 50-year window, constructed buildings of identical overwhelming scale, colonnaded, domed, corridored beyond any functional need. Not for citizens. Citizens lived in squalor. These buildings were built for oversight. It's like finding a network of air traffic control towers in a world that claims it just invented the wheel. The infrastructure exists for a function. The function precedes the official explanation. Here's what makes this a chain rather than a coincidence. Across these 19th century megastructures, researchers have documented a consistent anomaly: ground floors buried, partially or fully submerged beneath current street level. In Paris, in Prague, in dozens of American cities, the official quote 8 is actually the second floor. The real ground floor is below current grade. We're told urban development raised street levels over time. Gradual accumulation of debris. Gradual, over decades, raising entire city street levels by 2 to 4 meters. That's not debris accumulation. That's a surface level change after a major event, the kind of event that follows large-scale subsurface extraction. We see impossible scale, we see buried foundations, we see oversight infrastructure built before the civilization it supposedly served existed. This is not architecture. This is site management. And if the buildings are management posts, someone was being managed, something was being monitored. We haven't yet talked about what happened to the workers, where they came from, and why the population records from this exact period contain gaps that historians simply don't discuss. We've looked at the buildings. Now look at the bodies inside them. Because if this planet was our natural home, the place where our species evolved over millions of years, our biology should fit it perfectly. It doesn't, not even close. Take the human spine. 80% of humans experience chronic back problems at some point in their lives, not as injury, as default operation. The vertebral column under normal Earth gravity compresses, degenerates, and fails in a species that supposedly spent millions of years adapting to exactly this gravitational environment. Every engineer on the planet will tell you, if a structure fails under the conditions it was designed for, it wasn't designed for those conditions. We're told evolution simply hasn't caught up with our upright posture. We only stood up 2 million years ago. Not enough time. Do you seriously believe that? 2 million years isn't enough time to fix a spine, but it was enough time to develop language, abstract thought, agriculture, and civilization. Let's count the full list of human biological failures under Earth standard conditions. Our eyes require corrective lenses in 60% of the global population, not from screen use, but from baseline optical dysfunction. Our skin reaches dangerous UV damage thresholds after 15 minutes of unprotected equatorial sun exposure. Our circadian rhythm desynchronizes under artificial light so severely that 1 in 3 humans now suffers chronic sleep disruption. We are not adapted to sunlight. We are not adapted to gravity. We are not adapted to Earth's natural sleep cycle. What kind of home damages 60 to 80% of its inhabitants just by existing in it? It's like a fish that developed gills, but drowns in water. The equipment exists. The environment is wrong, or the equipment was built for a different environment entirely. Here's where this becomes impossible to dismiss. The human genome contains approximately 223 genes that have no evolutionary predecessors in any other species on Earth, no gradual mutation trail, no ancestral versions in primates. They simply appear, fully formed, functionally complex effort in human DNA, 223 genes. From nowhere, either random mutation produced fully functional, unprecedented genetic code with zero transitional forms, which violates every principle of evolutionary biology, or those genes were placed there. There is no third option. We were not shaped by this planet. We were shaped for a purpose on this planet. The difference is everything. And here is where the two open threads of this investigation, with a coordinate system of ancient quarries and the pattern we called inventory management, finally converge into one answer. Brace yourself. Because the picture that assembles in Part 9 will make everything before it feel like the introduction it was. Remember those ancient quarry coordinates we flagged in Part 3? We said we'd return when the picture became complete. The picture is complete. Lay every major ancient quarrying site on a blank map. Aswan, Egypt, Baalbek, Lebanon, Sacsayhuaman, Peru, Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, the Yangshan Quarry, China. Don't connect them yet, just look. Now draw lines between them using great circle routes, the shortest paths across a sphere. The lines intersection repeatedly at precise angles, forming a geometric grid across the entire planet's surface that no civilization in 3000 BC had the cartographic technology to calculate, let alone coordinate. How is this possible? Let's count what coordination across these sites would actually require. Sacsayhuaman in Peru and Göbekli Tepe in Turkey are separated by 11,000 kilometers. To align their construction orientation to the same astronomical reference points, which they demonstrably share, you would need synchronized timekeeping, spherical geometry, and global communication across cultures that official history insists had zero contact. But identical geometric orientation, identical quarrying methodology, identical abandonment patterns when the primary deposits were exhausted. It's like finding the same corporate logo carved above the entrance of factories on opposite sides of the planet, built by workers who supposedly never met and spoke entirely different languages. Either independent civilizations spontaneously developed identical precision extraction systems, oriented them to identical astronomical coordinates, and abandoned them on identical schedules by pure coincidence. Or one operational authority ran all of them. There is no third option. Now close the second loop, the one from Part 6, the pattern we called inventory management. We said it had a name. Here it is: site activation, resource extraction, site decommission, population dispersal. This is the operational cycle. We see it in Egypt. Pyramid construction ends. Civilization fragments. We see it in Mesopotamia. Sumerian cities abandoned after millennia of productivity. We see it in the Indus Valley. Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. Two of the most sophisticated urban centers of the ancient world simply vacated around 1900 BC with no invasion, no catastrophe, no explanation, no invasion, no catastrophe, no explanation. The workforce was relocated, the site was decommissioned, the operation moved. This thought makes you cold. That's the correct response. Because what we're describing is not ancient history. It's a management protocol that has been running continuously, and we are currently inside an active operational cycle. We are not studying the past. We are reading the current operating manual. And the moon, which we've circled around this entire investigation, is not a natural satellite. What it actually is will reframe every piece of evidence we've assembled. Let's return to the collapses. Because we counted 6 civilizations that vanished after deposit depletion, we said the correlation was perfect. Now let's prove it with math that doesn't lie. Take the Bronze Age collapse of 1200 BC. Within a single 50-year window, 13 distinct civilizations simultaneously ceased to function. The Mycenaeans, the Hittites, the Ugaritic Empire, Cyprus, the Levantine coastal cities, gone. Not conquered, dissolved. No single invader, no climate event that affected only them. No plague with a verified archaeological signature. 13 civilizations, 50 years, 0 surviving explanation. Official historians call it systems collapse, a cascading failure of interconnected trade networks. That's not an explanation. That's a description wearing an explanation's clothing. Let's count what actually depleted around 1200 BC. The primary tin sources feeding Bronze Age metallurgy, Afghanistan, Cornwall, Anatolia, show simultaneous exhaustion in their archaeological extraction records at exactly this horizon. No tin means no bronze means no tools, no weapons, no infrastructure maintenance. The operational material ran out. The sites were decommissioned. The workforce, 13 civilizations of it, became unnecessary. Do you feel that? The ground shifting? Now run the same calculation forward. The Western Roman Empire collapsed in 476 AD, precisely as its Spanish silver mines, its North African grain extraction, and its Danubian iron sources hit terminal depletion simultaneously. Not one resource, three at once, after centuries of accelerating extraction. The pattern holds across every major civilizational collapse in recorded history. Resource peak to extraction plateau to sudden civilizational termination, not gradual decline, termination. It's like a rental agreement with a clause nobody showed us. When the property has been sufficiently utilized, the tenants are removed, and the site is prepared for the next operational phase. We are tenants. We were never told the lease terms. Here's the calculation that makes this undeniable. 6 major collapses, 6 resource exhaustion events. Correlation coefficient between collapse timing and deposit depletion statistically indistinguishable from 1.0. In any other field of science, a correlation of 1.0 is called a law. Either civilizations collapse for endlessly complex reasons that happen to align perfectly with resource depletion every single time, or the collapses are the mechanism. There is no third option. The reset is not a catastrophe, it's a maintenance cycle, and we, right now in 2024, are watching rare earth metals, freshwater aquifers, and topsoil simultaneously approach the same exhaustion curves that preceded every previous reset. The math is not subtle. The math is screaming. But who receives the extracted resources between resets? That answer lives on the moon. The answer lives on the moon. So let's finally go there. Take the Apollo seismic experiments of 1969 to 1972. When NASA deliberately crashed the Apollo 12 lunar module onto the moon's surface, they placed seismometers to measure the impact. What they recorded was not what any geologist expected. The moon rang like a bell for 55 minutes. A solid rock body, which is what the moon is officially classified as, absorbs impact energy and produces a brief seismic signature. That's physics. That's what every planetary body we've ever measured does. But a hollow structure, a shell, resonates. It rings. 55 minutes of continuous resonance from a single impact. Official explanation: the moon's interior is _10_ dry and rigid. That's the entire explanation for behavior that no other planetary body in the solar system replicates. Do you seriously accept that? Let's count the moon's other impossible properties. The moon is exactly the right size to produce a perfect solar eclipse, covering the sun's disk with millimeter precision from Earth's surface. The sun is 400 times larger than the moon. The moon is 400 times closer. The probability of this occurring naturally with a randomly captured satellite is so small it requires scientific notation to express. It's like a security camera positioned at the single precise distance from a building where it captures every entrance simultaneously. That placement is not accidental. That placement is deliberate. Now look at what Elon Musk is actually doing. Not what he says, what he does. Since 2002, he has redirected more personal wealth into Mars colonization than any government space program spends annually. SpaceX's Starship is explicitly designed for mass transit of humans off Earth. He speaks openly about humanity becoming multiplanetary as an existential necessity. Who told him it was necessary, and why now? Either Musk independently concluded that Earth faces imminent civilizational risk and is altruistically building an escape vessel for humanity, or someone with knowledge of the reset cycle's current timeline is positioning an exit route for a selected group before the next decommission. There is no third option. We see a resonating moon that shouldn't resonate. We see a perfectly positioned observer satellite that defies probability. We see the wealthiest humans on Earth suddenly, urgently building ships to leave. This is not space exploration. This is evacuation planning. The operators don't abandon a mine without first removing their equipment. And some of their equipment, the most valuable units, walks on two legs. The question is which category you fall into. The final picture assembles now, and it begins exactly where we started. We started with a number, 90 billion tons extracted in a single year from a planet we call home. We end with a question we can no longer avoid. Look at where we stand. We've traced the extraction schedule across 160 years of accelerating output. We've walked through quarries that predate every civilization that supposedly built them. We've watched industrial revolutions arrive on a timetable no human authority set. We've mapped wars onto resource deposits with a correlation that science would call a law. We've measured a planet running 20 terawatts of unexplained power. We've read the reset pattern across 6 collapsed civilizations. We've stood beneath a moon that rings like a hollow shell, every thread, one fabric. We are not the owners of this operation. We are not even the managers. We are the most sophisticated biological extraction tool ever engineered, shaped for this gravity, this atmosphere, this specific set of geological conditions, and deployed with a purpose we were never meant to understand. We were told this is our home, our origin, our destiny. But a home doesn't extract from you. A home doesn't reset you when you stop producing. A home doesn't position an observation station in perfect orbit to monitor your progress. A workplace does all of those things. The next time you stand on open ground, feel the weight of 90 billion tons moving through the system above you and ask yourself one question. Who placed the order? Not governments. They are middle management at best, not corporations. They are the tools use. Either someone designed this entire system, planet, biology, history, and reset cycle, as a coherent extraction operation spanning millennia, or everything we've documented is coincidence, piled upon impossibility all the way down. You already know which answer your gut chose 3 parts ago. We are waking up, slowly, imperfectly, against enormous resistance, but waking. The artifacts don't lie. The math doesn't lie. The moon ringing in the dark for 55 minutes doesn't lie. The ground beneath your feet is not soil. It's a quarry floor, and somewhere the shift bell is already ringing for the next cycle. This investigation is not finished. It has barely begun. The next chapter goes deeper, literally, into what lies beneath the quarry floors we've only seen from the surface. If you're still here, you already know you can't stop now. Subscribe. Share this with someone who still believes the textbook, because the most powerful thing we can do inside a system designed to keep us unaware